Welcome, Ronia Fraser. It's lovely to chat to you this afternoon. You are a finalist in the healthcare category for the NLP Awards in 2022. So congratulations for that. I'm very lucky that I get to read all the nomination forms, and I've got your nomination form in front of me.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's some amazing things that have been written about you. I'd just like to read a piece out, which I think will help people understand a bit about what you do. It says, narcissistic abuse is one of the most common yet least acknowledged forms of abuse, which without fail has a detrimental impact on the survivor's mental health and quality of life. Ronia's gentle but highly effective approach is helping narcissistic abuse survivors get back on their feet, significantly reduce their complex post-traumatic stress symptoms, regain their mental health, and recover who they were always meant to be. And that's absolutely beautiful. So do tell us a little bit more about the work that you do that's led to your nomination.
Right. Well, I mean, you read it out. This is exactly what I do. I work with abuse survivors from all around the world, really. And I help them, as you just said, get back on their feet and regain their mental health, and in the process, recover who they were always meant to be. Because narcissistic abuse, I mean, by now it's really a thing, isn't it? It means something. A few years ago, that was very different. So people start talking about it, but we're still not quite there. And one thing that's really not very well understood is the impact that narcissistic abuse actually has on the survivor. So we talk a lot about narcissistic personality disorder, which puts the focus on the perpetrator, right? Like the personality disorder they have, but we very rarely talk about what the impact is on the person that's on the receiving end.
Yes.
And that's kind of my thing. That's what I do, because the impact is really detrimental. And as you mentioned, we're talking about complex post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
So the symptoms that the survivors actually experience, they are very detrimental to their mental health. But then as a result of that, it can also, of course, affect the physical health. And mind and body is one, right? And when we experience narcissistic abuse, it really impacts our whole being in so many different ways. And so symptoms that we're talking about, for example, is really severe anxiety 24/7. Because your brain is in such a high alert state, you're just constantly waiting for danger. Just around the corner. We're talking about really difficult to control emotions. We talk about depression. We talk about self-harm. We talk about suicidal ideations. So there is like a whole range of symptoms. And when we go to the doctor with that, oftentimes we're told, well, it's unfortunate that something bad has happened to you, but there is nothing that really can be done.
Right.
And that actually couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
And that's where my work comes in. And I've developed a program specifically designed for the purpose of narcissistic abuse recovery. And NLP, of course, is one of the main ingredients of my approach.
Yes.
And it's proven itself to be really, really effective to address exactly those symptoms, so stabilizing emotional well-being, addressing outdated beliefs and long-standing patterns that got us into trouble in the first place, because obviously there was something that actually wasn't working well for us. So we would find ourselves in those situations. And then in the process of doing all of that work on yourself, what it allows you to do is really become authentic in who you are. And that in turn changes everything around you, right? There are so many different layers to it, from, as we said, regaining the mental health. But not only that, it really changes the whole dynamic of how life actually works, the people that are in our lives, because people then will leave and new people will come in, in a much healthier wavelength.
Absolutely. And I think you know, what you've just alluded to. As I said, I've got your nomination here, and some of the testimonials that have been provided are just very, very heartwarming. So I just again want to share a couple with you. Chris says, I've had therapy for years, but I've achieved much more in the first 2 sessions alone than putting all the therapy I've done all together. And Claudia says, I just started crying in the car, not out of anxiety, but because I realized how deep down happy I am now. You have freed me from the prison of my own mind. Thank you again so much for giving me the keys. You are awesome. How the world is blessed that you are in it. I mean, those are lovely, lovely testimonials. Yeah. So when you hear things like that, what does it mean to you to be nominated for this award?
Well, being nominated, of course, is an acknowledgement for me personally, but actually I think this goes so much further than that, because those people, you just read the testimonials out, like my clients, a lot of people out there, they actually have been written off as, you know, lost causes, really. And I think winning this and being nominated in itself, it's just such a powerful signal that's being sent to abuse survivors. And as you could tell, you know, they're men, they're women, they're gay, they are straight, they have a whole set of different nationalities, they have different ages. And because narcissistic abuse is such a common thing, and the more we know about it, the more it literally blows our mind, because we often only talk about romantic relationships, but it can be the workplace, it can be a parent, a sibling, a friend, and it's literally present everywhere. Yeah. And now, as it's becoming more and more of a thing, and people actually become aware of it and understand what's been happening to them from a professional point of view, because as I said, oftentimes they're just told that there is nothing you can do, and it could not be further from the truth. Yeah. So being nominated for this award, it really sends a very profound signal to all the abuse survivors out there that, first of all, they're being taken seriously, maybe for the first time ever, because they've experienced so much rejection and just judgment, not being taken seriously. So what happened actually is a thing. Yes. And I think even more importantly, we acknowledge that something can be done about it. Yes. And that is such a huge light of hope, because it's maybe the first time they even hear that there is something that can be done about it. And of course, having then the professional acknowledgement and the accreditation that this actually works, is incredibly powerful, I think.
Absolutely.
A complete game changer, really.
Yes, yes. So what one thing in the work that you do, do you think is making the difference?
What's making the difference? First of all, my own understanding, I think, because I've gone through the journey myself, which means I don't just have a cognitive understanding of what narcissistic abuse is. I have an actual deep cellular understanding of what happens when you experience it. And I think that has a big influence in the success of my work, because for the first time, probably ever, my clients get to talk to someone. They don't need to be able to express themselves. I just know, because I've been there. Yeah. And then also the tools. I mean, NLP is such an incredibly powerful tool. And we talk about systematic brainwash they have experienced, right? So then, of course, when we apply just the communication principles of NLP, when we become aware of the language, that already shifts a lot, because there's a lot of negative self-talk happening there that has been installed, which can be undone that way. And then, of course, we have other different modalities or techniques within NLP that have proven themselves to be really, really powerful to remove emotional charges, for example. Yes. or to rewrite long-standing patterns.
Yeah.
And it's really not about just what has happened right now in that particular situation that basically brought the people to their knees. It's about what actually is this about, because it goes so much deeper than that. And that's what NLP allows us to access. Right. So I combine it with hypnosis as well. And so complementary, those two modalities, and it just allows you to access information and programming that on the cognitive dramatic just isn't, it's not sufficient, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. So where would you like to see NLP, and particularly your work, in the future?
Well, I would love for NLP to be recognized as the go-to method, really, and that applies to my work as well. I mean, the program that I've developed, it's so gentle, but it's so effective, and it's proven itself to be, or to work, right? So I really would like to see both of us being recognized as the go-to method for narcissistic abuse recovery. So that's my my method in particular. But for NLP in general, just being recognized for what it is, because it is so powerful and it literally makes anything possible.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, I think that's a wonderful aspiration to have, and let's work towards that. Absolutely. So thank you, Ronnie. It's been inspirational to talk to you. I think you highlight, as you said, you highlight a very challenging area of society that sometimes people do want to just brush to one side and ignore. So I think the work that you're doing is very powerful, and thank you for that. As I said, you're a finalist in the NLP Awards. We will be announcing the winners live on the live virtually on the 13th of May. So so good luck with that. And
thank you.
Thank you again.